Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 605. I had the black pieces. My opponent started off with knight f3, which is an interesting move. It can introduce a lot of different systems. I reply with knight f6, which is also a very flexible move, and just kind of waiting to see what white is going for. Top two choices here are d4, just going into a normal queen's pawn opening, or c4 like my opponent played, going into an English. You can also play g3 here, going for a reti, or even b3. Interesting move. I haven't seen that one here. But he plays c4, so we get an English opening, at least at first. But we get a very interesting transposition after he plays this move d4. You can see it's the third choice here, but still quite popular with the early opening of the lines. And this puts me into territory that I'm not so familiar with, honestly, because usually the players who play the English opening are going for a closed system, and I'm usually trying to get in the move d5, trying to open things up. So I'm actually a little bit out of step with this move. But taking, let's see, it wasn't the top choice. I guess the other interesting way to play this is to play e6 and defend that pawn with your bishop. So that's an alternative here. But I like the open lines, and there's nothing wrong with this move. C takes d4. He takes back. What I did wrong in this in the opening phase of this game is I delayed the move knight c6, and it looks like my best bet is to play knight c6 immediately. And I think I would get a decent game that way. I just wasn't sure I wanted to trade those knights off right away. But if you think about it, I'm trading this really well-posted knight for a knight on c6 that I just developed. So it's not a big deal, and it probably helps me if white actually takes that knight. So it might result in kind of a dry position, though. For example, if I play knight c6, he takes, and I take back with a d-pawn, he can trade queens and go into an endgame where he maybe has some slight edge. But I could always take with the b-pawn and keep things... keep the queens odd that way and play on with an extra pawn to help contest the center. So that's probably good for black. So anyway, this is kind of an early mistake, is I'm going with g6 here. And we'll see in a few moves. Now if we look at this, notice that this position, g6, has only been played 32 times. But as we go on the game, we'll actually see the number of games rise, because we actually transpose into a different opening. After bishop g7, he plays e4. Notice that e4, this number has already started to rise. And let's see, I played d6 here. So at this point, this is a line in the accelerated dragon, because that could have started with e4, and then he later played c5. Although this particular move order doesn't appear so often in the accelerated dragon, because usually this knight would be developed before this knight. And white would not have had time to get the Maraxi bind going, because this knight comes out with a tempo. But let's play on. Now that these two pawns are here, one idea with the accelerated dragon is to get the move d5 in with one go, but it doesn't seem like that's ever going to be the case. So I just play d6, which is probably not too bad, after bishop e2. And let's see, I castled. He played bishop e3. And I play knight c6. Here's where it jumps up again. So now we've really transposed into a pretty mainstream position in the accelerated dragon. And we just would have gotten here by a different move order with earlier development of the knight on c6. And the number of games has jumped up to 244 in the database. So we're in a pretty standard position. But the thing is, this is not an opening that I play. I don't play the accelerated dragon. I usually play the white side, playing the Maraxi bind against the accelerated dragon. So I'm not so sure what to do. Let's see. He castles, and I had seen this tactic involving knight g4 previously, and I know it happens in certain lines in the accelerated dragon, but here it's a mistake. So here I should just continue developing with bishop d7. And probably putting my rook on the c-file, and just trying to be content with having a little less space than my opponent. Maybe look for opportunities to trade. I can always trade off this knight here, for example, to relieve my congestion. Yeah, I think one idea is to put the bishop here, trade off the knight, and then put the bishop on c6. And the rook on c8. So those would be reasonable plans for black in this position. So the move I tried, knight g4, It doesn't work at all. And here's a chance for you to test your calculation ability. Can you figure out what's wrong with that move? Well, I guess first I should tell you the idea. The idea is that knight to g4 unleashes an attack on this knight. So it's defended twice, and it would be attacked twice, but the exchange draws the queen away, and then this knight is loose at the end. So I give a piece up over here, and I get a piece back over here, and that's the idea I was going for. So here, I'll put that on the board again, knight g4. What is the problem with this? Okay, I'm going to give the answer away. So I looked at a couple different lines before I calculated. The immediate, let's see, the immediate knight takes c6 here. If he takes the knight, oh no, let's back up. Yeah, I played knight g4. Oh, instead of knight g4, yeah, bishop d7 or knight takes d4. I mentioned those are different ideas for black to play here. After knight g4, if he takes here, which he didn't play, then I can take the bishop. He takes the queen. I take the queen. And say he takes the knight. I take the knight. And this is the line I calculated, and this is okay. I've got two bishops and a pair of rooks. He's got a bishop, a knight, and a pair of rooks. He's got more space, but I have the bishop pair. And, I think that would be okay for me. The thing is, what I didn't calculate is after I play knight g4, he takes. And he doesn't take my knight, he takes with the bishop. I take back. And now I'm hitting his queen, but now he can do this trick. Now he can do knight takes c6. And when he takes here, he's threatening my queen. If I take the knight, then he'll just play queen takes bishop, and he will have two pieces and I will have one. He's a piece up in this position. But if I take the queen, he stays a piece up. He takes here, and I've got two pieces, but he's got three. I can take the knight, but he takes my bishop. I can try and save my bishop, but there's no good threat I can make with the bishop. Say bishop here, for example, he can take it with the knight. So in fact, in this position, he just kind of reflexively took queen takes g4, but he could have ended the game right away with knight takes c6 right here. So that was the tactic that I missed in my calculation, and my opponent, who is playing really quickly this whole game, he missed it too. So queen takes g4, and it's still an even game at this point. So now I take off the knight. I have to get my piece back. And he doesn't grab right away. He just retreats his queen, which is actually the correct move. In the line where this trick works, where there is a line where this trick works on the I guess it has to be the queen. My black queen needs to be somewhere else, so he doesn't have this knight takes c6 trick, and then this technique works. And he doesn't want to trade off the dark squared bishop, so he just brings his queen back to harass my knight, and the knight dropped back. And I looked at this, knight on e6 is okay. So, white still has the opening edge. He's got this space advantage from the Maroczy bind setup, and neither side has the bishop pair. So white is doing fine here, but black is doing okay as well. Let's see, I play with a6. He goes rook a to c1. Went rook to c8. These are all normal developing moves. He went b3, shoring up his pawn here. Lifted my rook. This is a bit of a peculiar move, but not quite losing just yet. He hops his knight into d5. And now b5 is a mistake. It just kind of weakens me too much on the queen side. I was trying to open up some lines and undermine his knight, but I need to play something different. The chess engine recommends knight to c5, going after this pawn, and he defends with f3 and then playing e6, kicking this knight away. And, it's sort of making use of that rook, defending the d-pawn. But in the long run, it does saddle me with a weak pawn here. But this is best play for black, and once again, white's a little bit better, but not a huge advantage. After this, white's noticeably better. He takes, I take, cancel that, and my rook is hanging. I have to trade rooks first. Then I take back, and then he just plays f3, shoring up his pawn here. This is all pretty solid. And now what I really wanted to do was get my rook over to the a file here and go after his weak pawn. If I could get some pressure against these backwards pawns here, I thought I would be doing okay. I go queen d7, and notice my knight is controlling the c7 square, so he can't bring his rook into here and harass me on the second rank. So I'm feeling pretty secure on the second rank at the moment, although it turns out that was a false security. Let's see. b4 here. And this is my last chance to stay in the game. The engine is recommending king to h8 just to get away from the tactic that occurs in the game, so the pawn doesn't go with check, or f5, which is a move I thought about during the game. f5 actually makes sense. I mean, it's weakening the king side, but it also undermines this knight. The problem is his pieces are actively posted, and I just have trouble finding moves. And so I have to probably play some weakening move like that in order just to get some freedom for my pieces. This does give a little more scope to that rook. But in any case, I did notice, for example, that rook here, it doesn't work because of the knight fork. And then the knight fork also would apply to rook to c8, which is the move I played. But he has a very nice tactic after rook c8. My idea was, if he tried the knight fork, I can take the rook with check. So I calculated a little bit, but I missed this nice tactic here. He just takes my rook. And he could even play knight to e7 check, forking the king and the rook. And if queen takes, he wins the rook. So that's wins the exchange in a pawn. But even stronger than that is just rook takes c8 with check, because it leaves me with no alternatives here. I'm a rook down, and if I take back, then he's going to fork the king and the queen. So I had to resign here. But a nice game, some cute tactics. Hope you guys like this. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.